Welcome to the Offsides Podcast, Episode 6. Are you ready?
I'm ready, buddy.
We're ready for this episode. Before we even start, let's get into some NHL playoff scores. Have you been watching the playoffs?
Absolutely, man.
All right, let's get into it. All right, first score, Rangers, Pens, 4-3. The Rangers, my team, lost in the third overtime against the Pens. That's a long game. That's almost 2 periods.
It is, and they're playing well, and it looks like Crosby and Malkin and his crew. It's kind of they got a lot to play for right now. The end is near.
That's the longest trio in NHL history, right there.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We have the Capitals 4, Panthers 2. The Panthers are projected to be the best odds for the Stanley Cup, and they lost, so that kind of sucks for them. Stars 0, Panthers 1, or I just said that. Stars 0, Flames 1, Predators 2, Avalanche 7. And let's get into this.
Yeah, and the build on that too. I mean, the NHL playoffs is the best hockey, and it's amazing how these guys reach the limits and come together as camaraderie, and it's awesome to watch. So, good job, bro. Love hearing the scores.
Thank you.
And then tonight's a whole new slew of games too. So
this is also going to be delayed a week. So this is when you're watching this, it's going to be probably. What, game 5, game 6?
Yeah, something like that. You love your stats, though, so it's all
right,
good.
So let's get into it.
Yeah, we got a special episode today. We're talking about the balance of life, how hard to push through academics, personal life, athletics, and training. And we have an awesome guest here today that we're so excited to introduce. And we can't wait to look forward to go get him going.
We have a special guest today, Scott Davidson. Hailing from Trail, British Columbia, he played 167 games in the BCHL, racking 114 points. He then moved on to play 4 years at QU. He was in the Frozen Four as a freshman. In his 4th year, he joined the Charlotte Checkers in the AHL for 2 months during their Calder Cup run, and then 1 year in the East Coast with the South Carolina Stingers. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Davidson.
Let's go.
How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for the introduction.
You like that, huh?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Well versed.
I know. Very well rehearsed as well.
Yeah, the other thing too, your public speaking was outstanding. Not too fast, not too slow.
And if you want to hear about public speaking, just watch the last video.
There you go. Let's get started. So welcome, Scotty. Another Bobcat here. It's great to have you. And we're going to dive into an awesome section. Today is going to be about balance of life and really how hard to push. And I think there's a strong argument, certainly between student athletes, professional athletes, corporate world, of really, what you're sacrificing in life, between the quality of life and the people around you, and then the quality of work too. So today we brought on Scotty, who's got a great perspective, playing Division I athletics at obviously one of the best college universities in America right now. And which we're all, proud alum.
Yeah, not me though, not me. I'm the odd one out.
And we're going to be just touching base on the stories and the academics, his personal life, athletically, and then certainly the training and anything else that comes into mind. So with that, we're going to get right into some of our questions here. Scotty, so at Quinnipiac, really wanted to ask you, how did you balance, your life as a student athlete?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a loaded question, I would say. Showing up as a freshman, you have a made-up expectation of what it's going to be like, and you kind of get tossed into the fire and learn as you go. I'd say one of the biggest proponents, or at least one of the most helpful things at Quinnipiac, was having a couple of trail guys already gone through the ringer. At the time, Trav St. Dennis, who is what we like to call a trail boy. Yeah. He was senior that year, so he was there. He kind of showed us the ropes, get acclimated, and figure it out. But definitely relying on my teammates was a big, very helpful. Navigating school, and whether it was working out, training, and then obviously playing games and just the ups and downs that come along with the hockey season.
Yeah, I mean, I remember my freshman year, and I was at UMass Amherst, and I agree when you're talking about expectation, and the door is wide open, and you're so excited, and you're literally just almost running into walls everywhere because you're just a bull in a china shop, and you're fearless at that point. You don't know how to fail yet. You're just you're all about just going through the door. And a lot of people talk about structure, and that's the part of being a student athlete that really brings a lot of value. And when you talk about balance, again, you're a Division I athlete. You got to push hard, and you got competition not only that you're playing against, but also your teammates too. And there's a standard, especially at Quinnipiac now, that academically that you need to meet. And were there any type of teammates that you felt that really kind of helped bring you along, as you talked about, but also showed you the way?
Yeah, I touched on obviously Trav St. Dennis. One other guy I'd like to add would be a kid I went in as a freshman, Craig Martin. He's from Trail as well, other Trail boy. So him and I kind of went through this together, jumping in there freshman year. But my freshman year, our captain, Soren Janssen, he's one guy I admire. I think I reached out to him maybe my junior or senior year, just kind of get some advice, like how'd you get everybody on board that freshman year. He was just a special guy, like maybe not the most skilled hockey player, but he received the captaincy, and then just all of his actions and his accountability and like everything just kind of permeated through the team. And it wouldn't matter like if it was a team party or a team function or something like that. Like he was kind of rounding everybody up and like, hey guys, let's do this as a team, that sort of thing. And so that was huge. And that's one thing Rand always talked about, was how on good teams there's a coaching staff and play, and that those people are holding the guys accountable. But on great teams, it's your teammates that are holding each other accountable. So I think that's what we had freshman year.
Yeah, and I think that goes for any level, really. As you look at the top teams, like from my perspective, like I played U18 last year. Like the top teams, they're all on the same page, have good leadership, a good group of guys, and they're all together as one. And I think that's what you're saying about your captain, your team, is he kind of held people accountable, and that's super important for atmosphere like that in the college world.
Yeah, and how much they put into it too. I mean, you talked about just how he's constantly involved in the community. Some of his background too, and him not only aspiring to be a leader and a hockey player and a student, but also into his professional life. I think speaks volumes of of who they are, their character, and things that we're talking about, a balance of how hard they want to push, to meet their goals and push through their expectations too. Yeah,
and that speaks on behalf of his character too. Like, not only was he, captaining, is that correct? Captaining?
Sounds good.
Sounds fine to me.
Not only was he captaining a team on the way to a final in the Frozen Four championship, like he was academically doing biomedical sciences, and I think he mastered at Quinnipiac before leaving. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he was studying for MCAS and this and that, and he was attending, like you said, all the events throughout student affairs and stuff. Like he was at those fundraising and whatever it was. Like he did it all.
Yeah. I think even just the message of young kids or your parents or professionals that are out there, the message is, if you think you're doing what you need to do, you think you're meeting your expectations, you can constantly do more.
Yeah.
And it sounds like obviously he was a guy that led by example, but it seemed like he never got tired. He always wanted to kind of push through.
Guy never got tired.
It's pretty cool.
Weekends, never tired.
Yeah. And then the next piece, so you talk about national championship run, with Quinnipiac, met North Dakota in the finals. I also think, just to touch on just the standard of expectation between the self, which is you personally, and the teammates, and then the team, how hard they pushed, to really get to those elements and get to the finals, to those points, which is not an easy accomplishment.
Yeah.
And that's something, obviously, that kudos to you guys as a team and your leadership and your staff, and obviously what Quinnipiac has been able to really build their brand with too. But if you could speak on behalf of the Standard there too, it'd be great.
Yeah, I think speaking specifically about freshman year, like we went through a lot, like everything as a team that year, and I think that's what helped us throughout. And I'm pretty sure the game we lost against North Dakota, that was our 4th loss of the year, which was crazy. And going throughout the year, looking back, like there was never a time where we showed up at the rink and we're like, hey, we only have 2 losses. Like it was just like a normal year. We were just going about our business, winning games and this and that. And so definitely having the leadership we had, having the coaching staff we had, having all the resources available to us. I'll touch on like Coach B. I think working out in the gym is a huge bridge for anybody, individually, but also as a team. Like we're in there doing team workouts. One we would call it jailhouse. It's 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and you're competing against your partner. And one guy will grab a 40-pound dumbbell, and after you just did the 35s, and then that pushes you to the next rep, you're going to grab the 45s or the 50s. And that was kind of the culture that was created in the gym, and then that was taken out onto the ice in practice. Like that's where you're in your ice. And at Quinnipiac specifically, all the practices are taped, so like you can go back and watch your practice, or if something didn't look right, or you'd hear about it, and there'd be an example to show you.
That's a cool little tip for even guys out there that want more feedback as through their youth. Video taping their practice, rewinding it back.
I think especially in this day and age, there's somebody always watching, like
always.
And then it just I think if you could touch on too, just the structure. You talk about resources, but the structure that Quinnipiac and the staff and the school, for that matter, really put together. I think to align with success. Your day to day.
For sure. So like obviously going into school, like you had help prior to going in. People are there to help you with your scheduling, and then you had a set time where practice and workouts were to commence, and then it was back to school, and then you had free time later on in the day, whether you're taking care of homework, or even just getting an extra lift in or stretch, whatever it may have been. But from a schooling point, like you had access to tutors. You had access to your teammates who could be helpful, and then you had teachers who some worked a little better with you, or around your schedule, and so like academically you had that taken care of. When it came to the rink stuff, like who would have Cash, Reegs, Dume, like they were all assistant coaches throughout my time there. Anytime you could be like, hey, you know what, I got a clip, or hey, can we watch some video, and they would get the clips, and then you just find the time, and they could walk you through.
And that's huge.
Structure is so important, and obviously from the staffing standpoint, they led the horse to water, if you may, and their players took advantage of that. So they're out there for the extra reps, willing to help you. Reed Cashman, coaching the NHL and for the Caps, and then now as the head coach at Dartmouth. Joe Dume, is wore his heart on his sleeve. Unbelievable guy, and still at Quinnipiac as the associate head coach, and then Billy Riga, was at Quinnipiac, and then now is the head coach at Holy Cross. So you really had self-starters, self-made men that obviously are now setting the example and the tone for their players. And then, like you said, you're taking advantage of the extra ice time. You have Coach B, working hand in hand with the coaching staff, who's their strength coach, that's really pushing you as hard as you can, reaching the limits in the weight room in a team setting as well. And then also understands how to back off, knowing that your game schedule that week as well too, which I think is it's a really cool dynamic.
Yeah, that was a big piece of it, was recovery. We actually had an app where you'd fill out like a daily evaluation of how you felt, what strain was on you, this and that, and some days everyone would fill it out, and Coach B would see it and be like, maybe let's tone it down today. He talked to staff, and then that would be active recovery day.
Yeah, that's super important, especially from an athlete, just for your own self to like say, oh man, I actually am not feeling that great, because you're pushing hard like that every single day. Like, I feel like if you write down the information like that for a coach and you, without even telling them, like they can just, for your strength schedule, they can just adjust it based on how you're feeling, and that's huge.
Yeah, I think also too, just the self accomplishment, throughout every day, and the things you need to do as a student athlete, playing Division I athletics, things you need to do for an aspiring, player, working to make the next level. It's there's a lot of guys I think that they think they work hard, and there's a lot of guys that really work hard, and they need that rest recovery. They need to know when to kind of stop, and hit the reset button. And so they're properly recovered mentally and physically, to go hit the go button again,
Yeah, touching on that, like one of my best buddies at school, and a big proponent of what you just touched on, like going above and beyond. Chase Prisky, who right now is with the Charlotte Checkers. He's on a Florida Panthers deal, two-way. But he finally got his taste of the NHL this year, and well deserved. But he was a guy throughout college who he was like above and beyond, and what he had toe spreaders. So like you wear a hockey skate every day, your toes naturally our toes are supposed to be. So he would wear toe spreaders on the bus. He had like blue light glasses, and he was that kind of guy who would grab you and be like, hey, let's go do an extra lift. Like let's go rep out arm farm or something like that. And so like, that all paid him dividends now as he is knocking on the door of the NHL.
Yeah. He's another self-made man, and talking about like the hours that you need to spend, and he's one of those guys. Just really, really good reps too.
Yeah.
Just another one too, just talking about like consistency versus persistence. As we're talking about kind of pushing the limits, and you see the USA draft that just happened, the NHL draft that's coming up soon, and it's pretty unique to think about some of these kids that are literally 16, 17, 18 years old, and some of the that are entering the USHL or the NHL. Some are drafted, and some may never ever play for that organization, and to think about like how consistent they've been, through their daily habits to get there, and then once they get there, they stop being persistent about, well, you know what, like I've got to get better.
Yeah.
I got to compete against the other guy that got drafted higher than me, or a first overall, and I know the job and the expectation, and I think the pressure that I have on myself, I want to be completely prepared. And there's plenty of these moments where I think kids. And professionals, for that matter, get to their pinnacle and then just stop, and it's hard to all of a sudden be like, well, I've got to push through, I've got to go further.
Yeah.
And Scotty, obviously your freshman year, you lit it up. You said you had 9 buckets, which is a big deal, scoring in the regional championships and all that stuff too. And then you have your sophomore year, your junior year, your senior year, and a lot of hockey ahead of you too. I mean, if you could just touch on your freshman year, and then obviously, you kind of tied together your career.
Yeah. The old sophomore slump. Like he said, 9 goals. Things were looking great. I was confident. I went to Winnipeg Jets development camp.
Sick.
And I was like,
That's unreal.
wow.
Yeah.
Hockey is like NHL. Here we come.
Yeah.
So. Probably had a big head, and not to say I didn't put the work in that summer, but I had all these expectations, swirling mentally. I was, going to be a first or second line guy, and in my head at least. And so went into that year, expectations, weren't met, got inside my head, and then, confidence dwindled, and I went the whole year without scoring a goal. It was one of the most frustrating years of hockey of my life. And then kind of, guys from Winnipeg, we had resources. I could work with a mental coach, like talking about building confidence and this and that. So, I got better junior, senior year, but definitely, where I'd reached that high, and I thought, maybe I had it all, and kind of fell apart.
Well, and he brought it back together though too. I mean, he played professionally after college as well too, which is not an easy thing to do at all. But you see it in everyday life. I mean, we're talking about NHL, earlier just on scores, and playoffs are happening right now. I mean, you'll see a team go on a run, win the cup, and then literally disappear for years. Maybe the only cup they host for a long time.
I literally forget the team. Oh my God, that's embarrassing.
Well, St. Louis Blues. I mean, they came from literally the cellar, and then they brought it all the way up, and then it's good to see them back.
Montreal Canadiens literally went to the finals, and now they secured their 32nd worst team in the NHL spot. Like, from highs to lows, like, it happens. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, and again, I think with Scotty's point too, just he saw that there was some adversity, there's some inconsistency and maybe in his lifestyle or, his thinking process, and went to his resources, going back to his day-to-day things that he can fix, and then obviously how to get out of, that funk, if you may, to help reach his goals and get back to what he knows and building good consistency too. But I think that, the point too is just you got to stay persistent with it, and no matter what it is, the highs or the lows too.
Yeah, absolutely. And touching on consistency, persistency, just a cool story on Twitter. Saw Reed Cashman. He was on a coach's site. I think it was a podcast. They just pulled a clip talking about Nick Backstrom, one of the best NHL centers out there, and him working on picking pucks up off the wall. And does the guy really need to work on that? He is the best in the game. And then there he is, at the top of his career basically, and still working on those little things to just be that much better every day.
Yeah, the staples. I mean, and then the trust that he'll build within his coaching staff if they're in a moment defensively and the puck is wrapped and he picks it off the wall and makes an outlet pass or high off the glass and out. I mean, it relieves pressure from the defensive zone, and they end up winning those games. Again, it just brings back to the staples. Yeah. Just really becoming good at something and then furthering your success. At that. Again, it speaks volumes of your character and how hard do you want to work to keep pushing through.
Yeah.
So in kind of closing here, Scott, I think you've done an awesome job, and it's been awesome having you here. And we have a wide range of audience from younger kids, again, to professionals, moms and dads. Talk about balance of life and structure. Is there any advice that you want to give, any young aspiring athlete or professional, that is really working to kind of make their mark, and or as you talked about, is seeing the pinnacle of their career, maybe is hockey or soccer or whatever it is, and needs to keep pushing through. Is there anything you'd like to kind of comment on that for these young kids out there?
Yeah, I think obviously managing the balance, finding what works for you. That's a big part of it. But then I think just getting better every day. And whether that's getting better in your professional life or whether it's getting better in your personal life, you can always do something to move forward and then just be better.
No, yeah, it's 100% right, and it's a strong message for kids out there because I think again a lot of them they want to be really good hockey players, be good tennis players, or be good people. And I think every day they wake up, they be grateful for it, and be 1% or 2% better out there.
Exactly, yeah. It can be so minuscule, and then still have such a large impact in the big picture.
Yep.
So in closing here, it's been awesome talking to you, Scotty. Great job.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out.
Yeah, it was a blast. And then we're moving into episode 7 next week, and we're going to talk about the summer grind and what athletes need to do prepare for the upcoming season here too.
Yep. So, yeah, it's going to be a special episode, so stay tuned for that.
Let's go. A lot more to talk about. See you soon.
See you guys.